YouTube, my name is Danica and today I have my October wrap-up. I know it's been an entire month since I updated, but I have a very good reason, and that's because I've been sick for the entire month. I'm still kind of sick, so I'm gonna have to be editing out coughing out of this video. I'm doing so much better. So in the month of October, I read apparently 12 books, which sounds a lot better than it was. I did the readathon, which was when I read 4 of the books, and 2 were kind of graphic novels and 2 were audiobooks. But still, that's pretty good. The first book I read was Wet Paint by Sarah Brain, which was a book that I was sent for review for the Lesbrary, and it was just kind of a cute, fluffy romance novella, and I wrote a review at the Lesbrary, which will be linked below, and it was fun. The next book I read, I started to get into a Halloween-y type mood. I really wanted to read Halloween-themed reads for October, so the first book I read in that theme was The Gilda Stories by Jewel Gomez, and it was amazing. It's a black lesbian vampire novel, and it's just so good. I have a review at the Lesbrary as well, and one of my favorite booktubers, Cup of Books, just did a review on it for Halloween. You can check that one out too. And I think I'll definitely want to read it again, maybe next October. It's a vampire book that isn't horror and it isn't romance or erotica. It's just a really great story, and it gets into discussion about racism throughout the centuries in the United States. Even the kind of cheesy in the future bits were really good, so I highly recommend that one. Next, I read The Red Tree by Caitlin R. Kiernan, which is another lesbian horror book. Kind of a haunted house story. It's about a tree in the backyard of this old house that has all of these legends around it of all the terrible things that have happened around this tree. I really liked this book. I liked the style. It's sort of in journal style, and the protagonist is totally cranky, kind of unlikable, but I found charmingly unlikable. It was a little bit disappointing at the end for the grand finale, but overall I still really enjoyed this book. Perfect Halloween read. I also listened to A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray, which is a teen paranormal Victorian book. And overall, I liked it. I'm not sure if it would have been a different experience if I wasn't listening to the audiobook, because in the scary parts it seemed a little bit silly to me. The kind of monstrous voice I found really cheesy, but I still really liked it, and I think I will be listening to the next 2 books in the trilogy. Maybe not right away, but I think I will continue with it. And then I did Dewey's 24-hour readathon. Unfortunately, this time I was sick, so I couldn't stay up the full 24 hours. I still got 4 books done, which is pretty good for a day. I read the first Locke and Key graphic novel, which I'd heard really good things about, and it seemed like a really good Halloween book. I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to continue with the series. It didn't really intrigue me as much as I thought it would. And then another one I've heard really great things about, I read A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and it was just as good as everyone says it was. I cried. It's so good. And even though you know where it's going, you know it's supposed to be this depressing book, it still got me. And it was a great readathon read because it was really short and it had lots of great illustrations. And then I read Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk. One of my friends has been bugging me to read this book for years, or really to read any Chuck Palahniuk book. So I figured readathon in October, perfect time. It was better than I was expecting, honestly. Chuck Palahniuk didn't seem like my kind of style. I'm not sure that I'm gonna read any of his other books, probably not. But I didn't regret reading it, it was still really good. And then as just a sort of a fast readathon Halloween-y book, I read Hex Hall by Rachel Hawkins, which is the first in a teen series about a witch who goes to this school for witches and other supernatural creature type people like werewolves. And it was exactly what I was looking for. It was light, it was easy to read, and it had this lesbian vampire minor character that I was not expecting. I guess that's kind of spoilers, but not really. so much of a spoiler. Her roommate is a lesbian vampire and they become best friends. And you don't see a lot of lesbian best friends in teen books. Sometimes like a gay best friend, but not usually a lesbian best friend. Again, one that I liked more than I was expecting, and I wouldn't be surprised if I continued with the series at some point. Maybe next October, maybe whenever I feel like it. And then another audiobook I listened to in October is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I've never read any Agatha Christie books, and I liked it. It was a good Halloween listen. It was a good mystery. I did not see the ending coming, and I think it could be an October tradition to listen to an Agatha Christie mystery. I don't know if it's one that I would have sat down and read, but it was a really good one to listen to walking to and from work. The next one I read was Sadie Walker is Stranded by Madeleine Roux. I read her other book, Alison Hewitt is Trapped. It begins with them being trapped in a bookstore in a zombie attack, which I feel is very relevant to my interests since I work at a bookstore. So I needed to pick that one up, and I really liked it. So I figured I would read the next one. And I still liked it. I definitely liked the first one more. My problem is with the ending and the villain of the story. I thought it was really problematic. It was a little bit offensive. Not a little bit offensive. It was offensive. And the last audiobook I listened to was We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. It's not a fast-paced book. It's more of a character-driven story. It was really interesting. I really loved the characters and the mood. Shirley Jackson is really good at establishing the unnerving atmosphere, but I figured some things out before they're revealed, which I don't usually do. I'm really bad at mysteries and things like that because I do not see the clues coming. I don't put things together. I'm usually blindsided. But it was still good. It really did make me want to start listening to another one of her books. And the last book I read for October was Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler, which is another vampire book, which also has a black female protagonist, and it was also really good, really thought-provoking. Both the Gilda Stories and Fledgling had a great take on vampire mythology. The Gilda Stories playing with old vampire mythology, but Fledgling just establishing entirely different vampire mythology, where vampires are a different species that live symbiotically with humans, and it's all really interesting. They've got their own moral code. On the one hand, it's really admirable, but on the other hand, it's also kind of creepy because they're basically brainwashing people. I would definitely read it for the vampire mythology. It's really well written, and the story was great. It's about this vampire, they're called Ina in the story, who wakes up in a cave with no memory of how she got there and spends the rest of the book trying to piece together her past and trying to reconcile with other Ina and get used to the community and just recover from this really traumatic incident. I definitely highly recommend it. Those were my October reads. I actually meant to have even more. I think I got a little overexcited with the themed month and I just wanted to put in all of the books that vaguely seem Halloween-y into one month. I can't really read that much, but I will be doing this again next year, definitely. I've got a list of books that I want to do next year that I wasn't able to fit in this time, and I really enjoyed it, even though I was sick and miserable this whole month. So I will be trying to put up more videos, definitely once a week, hopefully a little bit more. Yeah, let me know if you've read any of these and what you think of them, and thanks for watching.